Hi everyone, my name is Isabela Maria Perez and I will be talking about how I became what I am today. I am 21 years old and I would consider myself being a part of the Mexican ethnic group. Not only has my family contributed to me identifying myself as a part of that group, but also how I've been brought up and different situations I've been in, as well as my class, being the lower middle class. Some people in the past have perceived me as being a Mexican, and others have not. Some I've also been close to, and some completely know me and my background and my family, and some don't. And I think that's the issue with people perceiving others as being a part of a different group, because they're not completely knowledgeable or aware about who that person is and where they come from or how they were brought up. Throughout my life, I've always celebrated typical Mexican traditions with my family, such as having a quinceañera and also participating in folclorico, which is a Mexican folkloric dance, and being a part of certain organizations or participating in certain celebrations. It's helped me stay close to my culture and really see how the Mexican culture is, and also traveling as well and seeing certain monuments or just different paintings and becoming more knowledgeable about people that are also Mexican, that have either been artists, professors, or even an idol, I guess you can say. I feel like ever since I was born, I would have considered myself being a Mexican, also being surrounded by Spanish-speaking family members, such as my grandma, for example. She only speaks Spanish, and sometimes it is very difficult to communicate with her, and I do wish that I was 100% fluent in the language, but unfortunately I am not. And my parents would speak to us in Spanish, just not all the time. But also what a lot of people need to think about now is that English is the primary language, especially within education. And so, of course, parents are going to want what's best for their children, and not necessarily the easier route, but trying to limit as much challenges as possible. Although it is very beneficial to learn from those challenges. Within the education system, I feel like racism also comes into play, because a lot of the times, starting from elementary school, we're not taught about certain celebrations or historical events, such as Christopher Columbus, for example. A lot of schools now don't celebrate that because people have become more aware and knowledgeable about the historical content, and also just learning more about the other people's different perspectives on it. But not only does that holiday relate to what I'm saying, but just overall, as young children growing up, we're not exposed to more diverse historical events. For example, the only closest thing that I remember was learning about slavery, and that's what a lot of people typically think of when learning about different ethnic groups. A lot of people tend to resort to Black people, and that's where racism also ties into, because if we're being exposed to such information and constantly being thrown different things, not only does the knowledge that people have tie into racism, but also the different classes that people are a part of. One, with me identifying as the lower middle class, I've faced certain instances or even some discrimination as well because of being Mexican and a part of that class. And throughout my life, I've also noticed too, I've had some friends of mine that are in a higher class, and people from different ethnic groups or even white people, I guess, respect those people that are part of their same class. And it's being in this college course has opened my mind and just my perspective on racism, and that racism doesn't solely depend on how people perceive one another or based off of the color of their skin. This sociology class has just expanded my knowledge and opened my eyes on racism, as I was saying before, and just looking on the bigger picture of it all. And because racism is just a constantly ongoing issue, because people tend to stay closed-minded or just want to protect themselves and don't want anything to change. One being their power. And within different classes, people have certain power. One, with being in a higher class, you have more. And of course, being in a lower class, you have less. And so that's what people are afraid to give up on. And so that's also why racism is still going on even till today, even though there's been certain historical events and the whole issue with slavery and different riots and even Mexican protests. Even through all those events, it's still a problem today. Overall, the foundation of the country is racist because one way or another, government officials could be intertwined with racism somehow. But just moreover, if people possess a lot of power in higher ranks within the community, people could potentially be influenced by them and have specific actions because of their words. Many people just typically are afraid of any change at all, but if people put in effort to make even the slightest change, it can go a long way, and even into preventing certain situations or even preventing or limiting racism. But as a community consisting of various ethnic groups, we need to learn how to educate others on the issues and speak up about the real roots of racism. Moreover, we also need to understand everyone. And of course, it's going to be difficult. Not everyone is going to do that. But as a part of different ethnic groups, we also need to understand why they do what they do. It may be because of their past or even their family values, and that's all they've been taught or been educated about. And so, of course, they perceive people as a certain way. And the issue in my life was that a lot of people didn't completely understand where I came from and my whole background, because some friends of mine didn't classify me as being a Mexican because I didn't have that accent or I didn't look like them. And I told them, no, you don't understand where my family has come from and what they've been through, and even different experiences I've been in as well.